So, welcome officially to the NLP method. I'm very excited to have you here. We've had a little bit of preamble with the people that have been watching this live. And I'm actually going to double check when I'm here, make sure there's nobody else looking to get in. Okay, fabulous. So if you're watching this on the recording, I would love you at some point to stop by as well and let me know how you get on. If you have any questions for me, have you loved it? What have you loved best? What is your key takeaway? And anything else you want to know, and I can help you with. So I've got a question for you to get started with. Really serious, important question. What do you call a funny mountain? Hilarious, isn't it? Okay, now there is a reason why I joke. I spent 8 years on radio, and I always started off with a joke. And the first thing I would say was a joke followed by, it's all good. I hope you're laughing with me and not at me. But either way, I've still done my job, because by you laughing, I have changed your neural chemicals, your serotonin, your dopamine levels in your brain. And even if you're laughing at me, I trust that you aren't. You're laughing with me. I've still done my job. I've created change in your mind. And that is what I want to do. And one of the most effective ways to create change, we all know this, is by affecting someone's mood. When we leave somebody in a different state, a good state, mind you, we will have an effect and we will have influence, and they will remember us, because you've heard it said, people don't really remember what you say, they don't really remember what you do, but they do remember how you leave them feeling, right? So when we change someone's state, that is very, very effective for from an influential, if I can say that word, perspective. So I'm wondering, are you really ready to get, for example, more business, right? More money, and of course, are you ready to get the NLP method? Yes, give me a yes. Put a yes in the chat. If you're watching this live, give me a yes. And if you're watching this on the replay, send me a yes. Send me an email with yes, and I'll probably have completely forgotten what that's about, and I'm going to come back to you and say yes to what. But that's all good. We'll have a conversation. So I'm wondering, did you know this? Hell yeah, I love that. Did you know that 80% of people right now, statistically, are extremely anxious? Did you know that? Yeah. This is what the statistics show. And in this day and time, and the number one stress is, guess what it is? Money. I could see someone miming that. Yeah. Okay. The fear of it running out, the fear of not making enough. This is literally making people sick. Making people sick. Now, the bad news is we're all trying so hard, right? We know how that works, to build strategies, to make a plan, to get on with things. But here's the problem with that. Any strategy, any plan, any goal that you have is dependent on one thing and one thing only. Do you know what that is? Yeah? Your mindset. Your mindset. And the extent to which you allow yourself to have success and to have wealth and to have happiness all comes from your mindset. And there's a saying that 95%, you've probably heard this, is mindset and 5% is strategy. And it's true. So we need strategy. We need a plan, of course. And the great news is there's lots of great strategies out there. That's the good news. There's lots of ways to formulate plans. There's lots of ways to create smart goals. But here's the thing, it's the engine under the strategy, your mindset. That's the engine, isn't it? So how you think and how you feel about yourself and your ability to make money, to have happiness, to feel self-worth is what will determine your income level and your success in life. Guaranteed. 100%. No question. If your subconscious mind is not aligned to success, you will sabotage yourself along the way. I want you to sit with that. You have to know how your subconscious mind works in order to get the success that you want and actually to keep it. And here's how I know this. Some of you might know this, and for those who don't, I'm sitting on the floor of my restaurant in Wicklow, Ireland, sitting on my knees. A man has just come in from the electricity board and turned off my electricity in my restaurant. And I just had to send my team of 15 staff home. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, what's happened? What's happened? The past 17 years of being in business, 3 restaurants and a gift shop have just been a total and utter waste. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm no good in business. That's what I'm thinking. And I went home and I really considered ending it all. And I got to this point where I knew that I had to do something very different. And that was my rock bottom. I went on to lose absolutely everything that I had worked for and built for 17 years. I'd opened my first restaurant at 19, and 17 years later at 36, everything was taken away from me. And I would love to tell you, I really would, that, wave a magic wand, that I figured out what to do immediately and that life was phenomenal and hunky-dory straight away. It's not exactly really what happened, to be completely truthful. I got a great job managing a restaurant. I studied everything about the mind to help myself. And I studied about how the mind works, subconscious mind, obviously, and how it affects your results. And I learned that the subconscious is running the show. And you have to know how to run it so that you can get the success that you want and keep it. I studied psychology, hypnosis, and of course, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. And I became obsessed with how you could go from a place of failure and actually self-loathing, because I had no self-worth at that point in my life, to actually making money again and having success again, and knowing how to keep it. 4 years after I went bankrupt, and I'd handed back my home, and I'd lost absolutely everything. 4 years later, I had bought my own home again, outright. A humble little cottage, some of you have been to it, nestled under the Blackstairs Mountain, with a beautiful acre of garden. And I bought it outright for cash 4 years later. I'd ran my first 5-day online program that had brought in 50K in a week. And I had learned how to love myself for the first time in my life. So, shall we take a look at how to get the subconscious edge for yourself and this NLP method that really and truly works? Would you like to know what I did? Give me a yes. Put it in the comments. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. So here's where it starts. And this is probably a slightly strange NLP class for you. But one of the things I want to start with, I want to give you the big picture. I prefer looking at things in a very simple way. And yes, I do go into techniques and the finer detail. However, when I teach, and one of you beautiful women and people here ask me, okay, how do I teach NLP? For me, it's all about teaching you. I always joke about this and say I'm a vegetarian, but however, instead of giving you a fish, I'm going to teach you how to fish. Or I like to say, because I have the first Wexford olive tree ever in the world that's making olives, I'm going to make Wexford olive oil. I'm writing a script called Extra Virgin, and I'm going to create olive oil. I'm going to squeeze olives out of that olive tree in my garden. Okay, I digress. The point being is I want to teach you how to grow your own olives rather than giving you one. Does that make sense? And instead of giving you a couple of little techniques, and I can do that, and we may go into some finer detail, I really want to start with the big picture. There's three fundamental things that I did that helped me go from somebody who hated myself, or rather felt I had no worth based on my childhood, based on fear of abandonment. And this is all very interrelated into the subject that I'm going to speak about. There's three things that I cultivated in myself based on what I learned about the subconscious mind, and yes, NLP in a very broad spectrum. And these three things are this: love, leadership, and language. And I'm going to start with love. The first strategy for you to have more success, whether it's in your business or whether it's in your personal life, is love. Because you have to love yourself. You have to love yourself enough to allow yourself to be successful. And what I mean by love is your level of self-worth, or you having self-worth. When you love yourself in this way, this is the big one. When you love yourself in this way and you value yourself and you have self-worth, you allow yourself to receive. Receive. When you don't, you're going to struggle to receive because you're going to be too busy avoiding, protecting, doing, and there's no allowing in that. Does that make sense? So even if you do receive, you're going to be very likely to struggle. This is so important because I've experienced this to keep it. You're going to struggle to keep it. Does that make sense? So I had spent 17 years building a business with 3 restaurants and a gift shop. At its height, I don't know, it was worth probably 2 or 3 million, my 4 businesses. And I lost it all, including my own home. I now know that my self-worth was non-existent all of that time. all of that time, because it's also a big difference between confidence and self-worth. Huge, huge difference. And I talk about this a lot. I had confidence because I'd learned to be a grafter. I'd learned to be a doer. I'd learned to be a survivor. And maybe some of you can relate to this. But that doesn't mean you have self-worth. Confidence comes from doing. Confidence comes from doing. Do something enough, you get confident at it, right? That's not self-worth. There's a difference. I had confidence at doing certain things that I knew how to do. I knew how to survive. I'd always had to be a survivor. From a little girl, I had to take care of myself. But I didn't have self-worth because I thought nobody wanted to take care of me. Nobody else would take care of me. That's what I believed. I wasn't worthy to be taken care of. So there's a difference between the two. And I also had no idea that my subconscious mind was sabotaging my success. To be honest, I'd never given it a moment's notice. Does that make sense? Yeah. The reason I was then able to, and it comes down to this, the reason I was then able to hold love, because it took a long time for me to learn how to be comfortable to receive love and not be afraid that someone was going to leave me. The reason I was able to buy a house outright and make 50K in a 5-day course, which seems incredulous, is all down, all of it is all down to how I had learned to actually love myself and have self-worth, and how to manage my subconscious mind. So in my experience, right, there's a key to this, and I'm going to be really honest with you on all of this. There's lots of things I can tell you, lots and lots and lots, and I can go on for a long time, and people know that. However, the truth is this, that there is something that is causing you to stay in self-sabotaging ways. Because it's comfortable, because it's familiar, because what you know, and it's going to keep you in the uncomfortable comfortableness or the comfortable uncomfortableness as long as you stay focusing on outside validation, on outside sources, rather than looking inwards to yourself and how you can start loving yourself more every single day and respecting yourself more. I've had clients like me, like myself, who have learned how to love themselves. And I know it sounds corny, but really money and love, or we could say sex, are the two oldest, bestsellers in the history of mankind, right? And they're interlinked. They're so interlinked. If we cannot receive love, we cannot receive anything. If we don't feel worthy of love, we're not going to feel worthy of anything else. Does that make sense? So I've had clients that have come looking to make money. Well, we've spent a number of months focusing on inward stuff, on the subconscious, on the language that they use, and how they speak to themselves, and how they treat themselves, how they put themselves first. And the results of that has been phenomenal in their business, in their income, in their self-worth, obviously, in their health, and in their relationships. So here's 2 ways that I would suggest for you to start to love yourself more, okay, and increase your self-worth. And the first one is something that you've probably heard a million times, but I'm going to say you got to start using it. And this is identity bias. Sound familiar much? Identity bias. Now, identity bias is a psychological process that happens and that is triggered the moment that you use two particular words. Now, I'm expecting Joan and Karen, who just completed their NLP practitioner. Okay, and probably Catherine, you've probably done it online as well, to be putting in the comments right now what those two words are. Good woman. Catherine, bet you girls to it. And she wasn't even in Italy. Well done. Well done. So, yeah, she was quick on the draw. She was quick on the draw. Well done. So those two words are, of course, I am. And you may have heard that before, and it may sound corny. I am are the two most powerful words that you will ever utter, because what comes after it shapes you. Have you heard that said? However, it's true. And however, the people that spiel that off and say they know this and intellectualize it and say the sentence still use those words ineffectively and detrimentally. And not only I am, as in to yourself, you are also using it ineffectively and detrimentally to those people that you say you love around you, and those people that you want to affect, and those people that you want to influence, and the people that you want to get sales from, when you use the words you are. So I want you to really think about this. The words I am are really, really important. When you say something, and here's how identity bias works. When you make a statement, good or bad, I am the best NLP trainer in the world. I'll keep that one. I'll hold that one. But if I was to say something like I am, I don't even want to say it, a terrible communicator, put that away. Okay, that my subconscious then wants to prove me right. That's how identity bias works. It wants to look for the evidence. It wants to confirm I am right. It kicks off another bias called confirmation bias. And as I call it, the little people will start going out there and looking out for all the evidence to prove you're right. So you got to be really careful of this word, because most people who are depressed, most people who are down, most people who are unmotivated, most people who are, anything that's unbeneficial are going to use sentences like I am depressed, I am down in the dumps, I am sad, I am unmotivated, I am frustrated, I am unhappy, I'm the type of person who always procrastinates, I am never good at numbers, I am terrible at names, I am no good at remembering things, I am not the type of person who could ever run a business, I am not a business person, I'm not a computery person. They're the type of sentences that people use. Have you ever used one of those? Be honest. Okay. So when you use those sentences, they have a profound effect on the results in your life. And you may think this is so minor. It's not. It's huge. It's huge, because this is how your subconscious works. And if you didn't know it already, when I talk about the subconscious, I presume you all know this, that the subconscious is the bottom of the iceberg. Like the Titanic, it crashed into the iceberg. And my grandfather used to always say that it was my grandmother's fault that the Titanic sunk, because she was born on that day. Said that, but anyway, she was born on that day. But the Titanic obviously sunk because it hit an iceberg, right? Or whatever the problem was with the ship or whatever. But it was because he didn't see what was underneath the surface, because there's only the little peak. And the little peak, if we talk about it, you've all seen the diagrams of this, the representation of this, the metaphor of this, but that little tiny little peak, 7%, that's your conscious mind. 93% is the engine running the show. That's your subconscious. That's the iceberg underneath the surface of the water. So it does matter. To us consciously, it thinks, oh yeah, that doesn't really have a major effect. Believe me, it does. When I started becoming aware of the power of my words, of the power of my intention, of the power of how I could choose to love myself, value myself, respect myself more with my language, the more I did that, the more My whole world changed overnight. And whether we call it woo-woo, or whether we call it science, or whether we call it neural pathways, whichever one you want to call it, it works. So knowing how to use I am, what I would really hope and trust and, ask you to really genuinely consider doing that and make a conscious choice to do it is from today onwards, become aware when you use the word I am, are you putting something beneficial afterwards? Because your identity bias is the most powerful bias of all the psychological biases, and we have many of them that exists. You will want to confirm and prove yourself right. Now, I have used that for those of you who want to know NLP. I teach all the methods and how to use this, but this is the big picture. This is the big picture. This is the big explanation. Now, when you know that, when you really understand this, you know the power of this and how you can use it in different ways. I'll give you another example. For sales, I managed a wonderful restaurant after I closed my restaurants. And I managed a wonderful restaurant, as I was saying, for a number of years in Dublin. And I taught all the staff this once I had started studying NLP and I was managing the place. And I taught, it was a vegetarian restaurant. So I taught all the staff to, when they could, to get chatting to the customers and ask them questions such as, oh, so why do you come here? It's Cornucopia restaurant. Some of you might know the restaurant. Great restaurant, fantastic restaurant in Dublin City. And we say, why do you come to Cornucopia? And people would say, primarily, most people that come into a vegetarian restaurant come to a vegetarian restaurant because they're either vegetarian or they want maybe something healthy. Okay, they're kind of the main two reasons. Of course, some might just come by chance. But in general, they're the two primary ones. And they're wonderful to play on because what we can do is then we can utilize that identity of theirs to make them want to keep coming back. So when they affirm, because spoken word has power, and this is a really important point, when you speak out loud, it literally, the neural pathways in your brain light up. And the stronger the neural pathways light up when you speak out loud, that means that you get extra potency, extra juice. So the feeling becomes stronger, the corresponding feeling. That is why sometimes when you're feeling upset and somebody says to you, oh, what's bothering you, you start to talk and you start to cry. It's because the moment we go to talk, it's like the little people, as I talk about in your head, go alert, alert, alert. Not only is he thinking it, but now he's saying it. So he's obviously really upset and all the waterworks start. So it sets off the in motion, amplify the feeling. So spoken word has power. So when I would say to people or the client, the staff would say, oh, why do you come to Cornucopia? The person would say, oh, because I am the type of person who wants to eat healthy because I am into health, or I am a vegetarian. That is powerful. Then they want to keep coming back because they want to prove that they are that type of person. We look for the proof. We want to prove ourselves right. It's confirmation bias. So remember this. And also remember when you use it unbeneficially, change it. When you notice yourself saying, I am the type of person who can't, la, 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 la. I am the sort of person who never, la, 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 la. Change it to a better sentence. Does that make sense? Also, the other part of that is beware of how you use it on others. If you are saying to your loved one, you are, I don't even want to look at the camera and say this because I'm a hypnotist, but I would never say to somebody something like, you are selfish, or you are, a rude word, or you are la, 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 if it was something negative. Because one of the key principles in NLP, you remember this, guys, is we never question the person. We only question the behavior. That is one of the NLP principles that we live by. We don't question the person because that's their identity. That's their self-worth. So we would never say to a child, would we, if they did something in inverted commas, bold, we wouldn't turn around and say, you are bold, would we? Because that's going to harm their self-identity. That is attacking their self-worth. So we wouldn't do that, would we? We would say, hey, that thing you did, that behavior was kind of inappropriate or something like that. So we would question the behavior, not the person. Does that make sense? So when you're speaking, when you're having a row with your partner, when you're, anything, when you're talking to a client, when you're talking to your mother, your brother, your child, whoever it might be, notice, are you using unbeneficial sentences? Because by the way, I say this all the time, you're a phenomenal hypnotist already. And when you say things to somebody that you love, and you say something like, you are mean, you are horrible, you are cruel, you're an angry person, you're a selfish woman, you're an angry man. When you say those statements, guess what you're going to get? More of that, because you get more of what you focus on, and you're hypnotizing them to do that exact thing. So words are powerful. Does that make sense? And I am and you are the two most powerful words that you could actually utter. And what comes next shapes you. So for your self-worth, one of the first exercises that I did was to start utilizing the power of that to my benefit. Now, the second part of this that I want to touch on is how you use your I am and you are statements. What I mean by that is sometimes people have heard of affirmations, right? And people often say, oh, they don't work, they're rubbish, I can't do them, I got fed up, I gave up, etc., right? And maybe you can relate. And I believe the reason why we give up, we stop, we don't do them, is because we have attached, and I want you to really hear this because this is so important, we have attached a negative feeling to something that we want to do more of. And when you attach a negative feeling, like going to the gym, drinking more water, eating healthier foods, anything at all, when you attach a negative feeling to something that you want to do more of, guess what happens? You're going to stop. Simple as. So instead, we want to say, and if we're saying I am statements that are too grandiose, too far-fetched, too unbelievable for us yet, we're going to stop. In other words, let's say I want to make more money and I'm struggling financially. And I hear of affirmations and I am statements. And I go from saying, oh no, I'm so poor, I'm so broke. And we go from that, say, oh, hang on. Danielle said use affirmations. So let me use an affirmation. I am rich. I'm a millionaire. You're not going to do that for very long because it's not going to feel believable. And you're actually lying to yourself and damaging your self-worth. I don't agree with lying to ourselves. I would never suggest to anybody to lie to themselves. That isn't going to benefit your self-worth. So I don't teach affirmations that way, because the whole package of the psychology is important. I want to say something that I can get behind, that I believe is truthful, that I believe is respectful to me. So if I am saying to myself, I'm a millionaire and I'm not that yet, then that's going to leave a sour taste in my mouth. That's going to leave me feeling unworthy. That's going to leave me feeling like I'm lying to myself. So instead, what can we say? We can say something that's practical, believable, and yet beneficial. So we can say something like, I am enjoying the process of learning how to allow more wealth, more love, more abundance, whatever it might be, into my life. Does that make sense? We can say a statement that feels more believable, but is going in the direction that we want to go. That's a beneficial statement. I trust that makes sense. So the first principle that I consider, and not that I consider, but I know is what totally changed my life in 4 years. In 4 years, from literally having nothing First thing was learning how to love myself, respect myself, value myself, and talk to myself in a more beneficial way. The second thing I learned was how to lead myself. And some of you have probably heard me saying this. But one of the things that I find, again, and it's a little bit related to affirmations and I am statements and identity bias, is that we tend to often go into what we call a poverty mindset, right? And some of you might have heard me saying this before, that there's a difference between a poverty mindset and a wealth mindset. And a poverty mindset is very simply, when I have the money, then I will travel the world and then I will feel really good about myself. That will never happen because it's the wrong order and it cannot take place. It's impossible. A wealth mindset understands how the law actually works. And the law of anything, of the universe, how things actually exist, is when I feel a certain way, then I will do a certain behavior, and then I will get the thing I want. So when I feel motivated, whatever it might be, confident, freer, good about myself, excited, whatever it might be, then I will do the thing. I will go and travel the world or whatever it might be that you want to do. And then I will get the reward of that. Okay. So that's the way it works. When I feel motivated, I will do the behavior of going to the gym and then I'll get the body I want. When I feel confident, I will go out on dates and then I get the love of my life. When I feel, clear, focused, driven, then I will go and do the marketing and Facebook Lives for my business and sell my stuff. And then I will get the money, the clients, etc. That's how it works. Can't work any other way. So what happens is, though, and this is really important, and this is where most people slip up. We say to ourselves, God, we get into bed, we pray to God, and we say, I really want more, change my financial situation. I really want to feel happier. I really want to have the love of my life. I really want to have X, Y, or Z. And then we go to sleep. And in the kind time, as I like to say, the universe is listening. And the universe kind of goes, okay, he said, she wants this. So have we got the memo? Have we got the stuff ready? And they send you a test. They send you a test. But were you ready for the test? Because you said, for example, hey, I want to be a famous actor, or I want to be a successful writer, or I want to be, a coach, or I want to be whatever it might be. And then the universe sends you a test to see if you can be that successful, whatever it is. And then you go, oh, it's too hard. It's too difficult. I'm not cut out for it. I am not. I am. And you use the statement, I'm not that type of person. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not, talented enough, whatever it might be. And you give up. But you asked for it. Now, the statistics have proven this. And this is why I'm saying, like, these all lead into each other. Like, love comes first. Because you guys all know this, that most people, and I don't know the percentage, but I know it's very high, very, very high. The percentage of people that win the lotto, guess what happens? You know this. Most of them lose it within the first 3 years. Do you know it? Do you know that? They lose all the money within the first 3 years. Why? Why? Because they weren't the type of people to have that amount of money. And that sounds weird to sit with, but they weren't the type of people to have that amount of money. Now, believe me, I've experienced that because I hadn't grown into being the type of person that could hold money. That is linked with undoubtedly that's the word, with your self-worth and your ability to hold and receive, and also with your leadership abilities. And when I'm talking about leadership, I'm talking about first for yourself, being able to lead yourself, and then afterwards being able to lead others. So people say they want success, but they're not behaving like the type of people who would have that success. Does that make sense? So when we say, I want to be successful, and then the universe sends you a test, and you say, oh, it's too hard. Oh, I don't know if I can, don't want to show up on Facebook today. Don't know if I want to do, don't know if I want to sell my business today, Is that what a successful person would do? Would a successful person do that? No. So the universe goes, okay, he, she isn't ready yet. And they stop giving you the opportunities because you haven't grown into that person. So leadership, and there's one of my favorite quotes is this: leaders are bridges, and bridges are tested. Sit with that. If I want to be a leader, and I want to, and I do, and I aspire to be, and I hope that I am to some extent, and I've made it my mission and my life mission. It started with me leading myself. Believe me, it did. It really, really did. Had to learn first how to do it for myself. And that's where we hear people saying, and you hear all these coaches saying, oh, you have to go first. But it's true. You have to go first. You have to go first. I had to learn how to lead myself before I could lead somebody else. And then that means that my bridge has to be tested. I go, universe, I'm ready. I want to change the world. I want to make the world a kinder place. I want to help all those people to come in the NLP practitioners to save all the little animals in the swimming pool. We did lots of that. Okay. And I want to make people better. I want to make people happier. I want to make people believe in themselves. I want to empower people. That's my mission. That's my passion. And for me to do that, the universe is going, okay, Danielle, you say you want this. Let's see if you can handle this. So it sends me tests. And believe me, I've been tested. And I know it's not over because at every level, there's a new test. But for me to be able to say to you, come on over the bridge. Come on over, guys. Come on over, Deirdre, Pat, Joan, Catherine, Karen, Pauline. For you guys to come over the bridge, guess what? My bridge has got to be strong, so it's got to be tested, doesn't it? Would you come over my bridge if I'd never tested it? If my bridge had not been tested, would you have faith in me? You wouldn't. So you wouldn't. You'd be kind of going, well, hey, Danielle over there, have you tested that bridge? No, it's grand. I'm sure it's fine. Come on over. I haven't really done anything, but sure, it's okay. You'd be kind of saying, no, I think I'll stay where I am, where I'm at. So my bridge had to be tested for it to be strong. And so does yours. So does yours. If you want to lead yourself, if you want to lead anyone that you love, if you want to lead yourself into a better life, a more successful life, more happiness, your bridge has to be tested. And that's where most people fall down. And that's why this masterclass is very special, because most people don't do this. Most people just put on rose-tinted glasses and hope that everything's going to be okay. And at the first sign of a challenge, adversity, they falter. They give up and they make it mean something about them. They go, I knew it. I knew it. It was just me. Just the way it always is. Always something happens to me. So yeah, I'm just not cut out for this techie stuff. I could have done this tonight. I was tearing my hair out all day about this stubborn Italian computer. It's been torturous, but I don't give up. Because that's how you become a leader. There's going to be challenges. There's always going to be challenges. You've got to start embracing the challenge and going, thank you, God, you've given me a test. That means I'm ready. I'm passing another test and my bridge is getting stronger. I'm getting one step closer. So that's where you look at it. So that's the second thing I wanted to share with you. Leaders are bridges and bridges are tested. Leadership starts with you. It starts with you being aware that you're going to be tested. There are going to be challenges. Challenges are never going to go away. The difference between someone successful and someone not being successful is being able to understand and know that there's going to be challenges and instead take on the right attitude, what you're going to do when you face the challenge. Not everything's going to be hunky-dory, there's never going to be anything wrong, there's ever going to happen, everything's going to be perfect for the rest of my life, and that's not realistic. So that's the second thing. The third thing that I wanted to talk to you about before we finish is language. How you speak to yourself. And I know we've kind of touched on it with I am, but that was really more about self-worth. The language that you use all the time is going to dictate, and it has to be very intentional. I mean, the words that you use, I mean, that's why, we call it spelling, because it creates a spell, right? It creates a spell. The words that you use have power. And this is where NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, really shines. Now, communication. Some of you are asking me, how do I teach NLP? This is kind of how I teach NLP. I teach the big picture first. When I teach NLP, I teach you one technique. Most NLPists, in fact, all NLPists, in fact, I would bet my house, which I very dearly love, my small little humble cottage, but I would bet this, that there's no one else that teaches NLP the way I teach NLP. Because most people that teach NLP teach in what I call a pen push your way. They'll teach you techniques. Now, I do teach you techniques, but the first thing I teach you is one big technique. And to bring yourself or anyone else through a process of change requires all the steps. And within those steps, there's a little tiny technique. So when I talk about language, I'm actually talking about communication, because language isn't just words. In fact, language is only words are only 7% of your communication. Did you know that? 7%. So when you're, for example, presenting, I could be talking, actually, the most interesting, most important piece of information that you're ever going to hear. Absolutely the most important piece of information, but if I kind of say it in this tone, it may be actually not really taken in that seriously. Or I could be talking to you, you know what's coming, Karen and Joan. I could be talking to you about gobbledygook, couldn't I? The most amazing, incredible gobbledygook that you've ever heard. But when you use your tone, your volume, your pitch, your body language, which is 55%, right? Are you listening, actors, wannabe actors, or already actors, phenomenal actors? Your body language, your eye contact, your tone, your volume, your pitch, your rhythm. Rhythm and beat is really important in influence. There's a whole world of communication that is so much more powerful than just your words. Does that make sense? So learning how to use this incredible instrument of your voice, using the tonality, using the rhythm, pausing when you speak, allowing the words to literally be repeated in someone's brain, is powerful. If you want to present, if you want to influence, if you want to talk, if you want to teach, if you want to lead, pause, slow down. I remember learning this in art college. I went to art college when I was very young, and I left at 19 to open my restaurant, my first restaurant. And anyone knows where the Happy Pear is in Greystones, that's where I had my first restaurant at 19, and before the Happy Pear, obviously. And I remember my art teacher taught me this, and it's so funny because I don't believe in any coincidences. The patterns keep repeating, and the principles of how things work keep being presented. And I remember her saying to me this: less is more, Danielle. Less is more. Have you heard that said? And it's quite ironic because it goes for everything. It goes for art. It goes for speaking, it goes for writing, it goes for presenting, it goes for acting, it goes for teaching, it goes for anything. Less is more. When you learn to simplify things and use your whole communication, your body, your eye contact, your gesticulations, I teach you how to use gestures in the most powerful ways. Okay, all of this adds up to true, effective influence. And it's not just words. Words are only 7%. Yes, they have power. And to give you some example of words, I'm going to give you some gold to go away with. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of sentences, a couple of words that are really going to, I mean it. And I don't make small claims. I make big, lofty claims. I know that. But I really, truly believe that when, and I'm not going to say if, because here's one powerful NLP presupposition, is using the word when. Change your sentences to when if you want to influence somebody. If you want to influence, it's not ironic, but when you want to influence somebody, use the word when instead of if. It's a presumption, a presupposition in NLP terms that somebody is going to do something rather than yes or no. We want to cancel out. If you want to influence somebody in sales, if you want to influence somebody as a coach, if you're a therapist, if you're any sort of well-being practitioner or anything like that, or you're a mother, you're a father, you're a brother, you're a sister, you want to influence somebody, instead of using the word if, cancel out the yes or no's. Make it a yes, yes. Make it a yes, yes. So when you start to use this, it's going to be powerful. So here's a gold. You all know that I'm a hypnotist, right? Because you do understand that NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is hypnosis. There's no difference. People will argue with you. People will tell you it's different, depending on where they've come from, depending on what they've learned first, depending on what they've got in their box of how they've perceived it, because our brain likes to chunk things and generalize stuff. And it deletes and distorts information. So based on something that you've learned, it's going to put it in a nice little box and say, that is that. So the thing is, hypnosis and NLP are the same thing. Both of them are how to use communication, subconscious communication, to influence, to have an effect. Correct? And here's another thing I want to touch on, that people often say, is that manipulative? Yes, it is extremely manipulative. However, like anything, it depends on whose hands it is in, whose mind it's in, what the intention is. So how do you intend to use it? Do you intend to use it for good, or do you intend to use it for bad? I'm presuming that I think most people are good people. I know I certainly use it for good, to help people to have more belief in themselves, to love themselves more, to have more happiness and success in life. And I'm presuming that you want to use it for similar. Okay, so when somebody says something to you, you've learned some NLP, is that not manipulative? That's a reflection of what they're thinking. I wouldn't even think, because I'm actually very naive. I only think good things. So I quite find that quite safe and quite bizarre when someone says that to me. I say, well, yes, it is, but I don't understand what you mean. And then they say, but could you not brainwash people? I say, yeah, that's what I do every day. I'm brainwashing people every day. And they go, but is that not bad? I said, why is it bad? They've come to me, they paid me, they want me to brainwash them, they want to feel better. It's a good thing. So does that make sense? So think about your intention behind all of this. Now, the other words I wanted to share with you is the word try. Hypnotist's number one favorite word. This can be used in both ways. So try implies failure to your subconscious mind. Have you heard that before? So when you use the word try, your brain, the little people, are going to go, yeah, he's not going to bother, stop him, sabotage him. It's going to sabotage you. So if you say, I'm going to try and do such and such, your brain, your subconscious is going to go out of its way to sabotage you. So if you don't want to do something, use the word. Or if you don't want someone else to do something, most certainly use the word. Does that make sense? But if you want someone to do something, then use a different word, such as do. Or why don't you, instead of why don't you try, you might say, why don't you do it? Why don't you check it out? Why don't you, take action on la la la. Use a word that's more beneficial than the word try, because try would imply failure to the subconscious mind. If somebody says to you, oh, I'm going to try. Oh, can you come tomorrow night? Oh yeah, I'll do my best. I'll try. They're not coming. They're not coming. No, they're not coming. Okay, they've used the word try. So try is a powerful word. If you want to stop someone do something, use the word try. It's very powerful. There are many, many words that I could share with you. There's many sentences. Some of the things that I teach in NLP are how to use your gestures and how to read people. The way I use my hands is very intentional. There's reasons why I put this hand up. There's reasons why I put this hand up. There's reasons why I put both hands up. There's reasons why people unconsciously will gesticulate in certain ways. And that is powerful information. When somebody is putting their hands over here, this is your left-hand side, this is telling you something. When somebody's putting their hands over here, this is telling you something. It's telling you something about where they see events, occurrences, things in their past, in their present, and in their future. And that is powerful to know. If you want to improve your sales, here's something I'm going to give you that's massive. Who wants to improve their sales right now? Put it in the comments and tell me, would you like to know how to really improve your sales and know what I call somebody's sweet spot. Okay. When somebody, for example, let's say you were selling, okay, I don't know what this is. I got this from one of my clients. Bear You, I think it's a lipstick, kind of cum blusher. Okay, very nice. Good brand. If anybody wants this, unique. Okay. So let's say I was selling this. And so I asked Pauline, okay, Pauline, tell me about your favorite lipstick. What was your favorite lipstick you ever had? And Pauline I'm Pauline and I'm talking. And I said, you know what? My favorite lipstick it was a particular lipstick that when I put it up, when I put it on, I just loved it. I just felt really good. I really liked it. Now, if I'm doing that, and I'm exaggerating my movement here to show you here on Zoom, if I'm showing this spot with my hands, this is what we call the sweet spot, or what I call the sweet spot. In NLP terms, this is called a spatial anchor. Okay. Now, this is the spot where in the internal world of this person, they're viewing this particular thing. Now, they are not consciously aware they're doing this, but people do it all the time. People will show you with their gestures where they put things. The good, the bad, and the ugly, they'll put them in certain places. They'll show you things where they put them. Now, if you put the good thing, your good thing, in the same spot as where they psychologically put their thing, their good thing, guess what? That's gold. That's powerful. On a subconscious level, we've connected the two, and they're going to feel the same feeling from this lipstick as they did with the previous lipstick that they had. Does that make sense? Now, that can be, car salesmen know this. People use NLP all the time for sales. Car sales is the oldest trick in the book. They'll ask you about your car. They'll ask you they'll ask you questions. They'll see where you put it in your mind's eye. They'll watch you carefully to see where you are visualizing your car. And they'll watch to see where you gesticulate. And when they know the sweet spot, they're going to show you the car details, the spec about the car, the brochure. They're going to put it in that spot. They're going to pick up their, what do you call it, where they sign on a clipboard, and they're going to put that clipboard for you to sign to buy the car in that same sweet spot. The oldest sales trick in the book. So that is an example of what we call a spatial anchor. There are so many things in NLP we learn about. IQs, to read people where the eyes go. It tells you so much. You basically read minds. I tell my students all the time, and they know that they have superpowers. We learn about effective communication. We learn how to influence people, how to bring them through all the steps. We learn how to keep people safe. It's really, really important. There are millions of things that I could teach you tonight, but the main things that I wanted you to understand is there is a powerful language. There is a communication, a subconscious communication that is nearly like having, we could say, a sixth sense, as well as sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. And that's how we represent the world. But when you have this power, you are in the 1% of the 1%, and it is powerful beyond words, both for you and how you feel about yourself, and of course for the people around you, in your relationships, in leading people in business, in all aspects of your life. It improves your relationships, improves your relationships with yourself, and of course it gets phenomenal results. So really, these are the three things: the power of your self-leadership, your ability to love yourself, you're harnessing the subconscious mind, and your effective communication, inward and outwards. They are the points: loving yourself, leading yourself, and using the right language, 3 L's. These are the things that you need. These are the things that you want to have more success in life. Now, I teach NLP in very many different ways, but one of the key things that I like to see in people, I like to read your mind, is to see where your blocks are, where your subconscious blocks are. So for people who are watching this, whether you're watching this live or on the replay, because I'm here in Italy, on Friday, my beautiful partner is coming over from Ireland for a holiday with me, and I have opened up my calendar for tomorrow. So I am giving you a free call. This is worth 297 euros, and I am going to show you where your subconscious block is, so you can get the subconscious edge, so you can understand how to move forward, and you'll understand a lot more about the power of NLP. So if you want to book that call, because I have no computer, my computer is bizarre, it will not work for me. I am going to ask you to, if you're watching this live, just simply put your name in the chat if you want to avail of that call tomorrow. It is free. It's worth 297 euros. And I'm going to show you in the call, we're going to look at what your subconscious block is. We're going to look at what you can do about it right on that call. And we're going to make a plan for your goal, your aspiration, what you would like to get in the next stage of your life, in the next 6 months, a year. And we're going to look at that going forward. How good does that sound? So put your name in the chat, and what I will do is I'm going to have to send you a link for a Zoom, because my Calendly won't work on this computer. I just cannot figure it out. So this is, particularly if you have not worked with me, I would love to be able to read your mind. And I will show you the power of this stuff. I will literally read your mind for you and show you how powerful this is. So get on this call with me. If you're watching this on the replay, send me back an email simply saying, book a call, and I will send you a Zoom link for tomorrow. You can give me some idea of times. If you want, I'll send you an email and we can organize some time for tomorrow, because tomorrow is my last day that I'm working. And then I'm basically on holidays for 2 weeks, traveling around Italy. So that is really it. I trust that you enjoyed it, found it useful. And I always kind of end with saying this, that it's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. Your life is within your control. It's your choice, so make it a good one today, okay? Thank you very much. I'm going to stop this recording, and let me see if I can figure out how to stop the recording. Okay, bye for now.